Can an artificial creed work? And if it does, is it really fake? Today, my friends, we are going to talk about religion. Today's topic will be a little bit unconventional and maybe controversial, but brace yourself because I'm sure you'll find it very interesting. A little disclaimer, this video is meant for believers and non-believers alike as an open discussion and a personal thought that I wanted to share. So if I make any significant mistakes, please let me know in the comments below. This video will be a little bit longer than usual, more podcast style, so apologies for not looking always in the camera. I have to keep an eye on my script here. Having said that, let's dive straight into it. I'm Johnny Lighthouse. This is the Johnny Lighthouse Show. So this whole reflection stems from Dune by Frank Herbert, which I have read with great pleasure. This amazing space opera imagines a distant future scenario where psychic, genetic and societal manipulation becomes so advanced that trained people can effectively predict and or engineer future scenarios with extreme accuracy. Schemes of this sort are brought about by the sisterhood known as the Bene Gesserit, who operate as trusted counselors of leaders, but bring about their own agenda as well. Something like the Jesuits in the modern era, I would say. Thanks to their extraordinary mental abilities, the Bene Gesserit are able to engineer creeds and prophecies, which they then implant in populations unaware of their fake nature, in order to bring about their hidden agenda. Such populations then proceed to believe in these creeds, as if they were divinely inspired truths. This is pretty much what happens with the Fremen, the desert dwellers of planet Arrakis, who blindly believe in a creed brought to them by the Bene Gesserit long ago, which foretells the arrival of a messiah figure who will deliver them from the subordinate position they are in, will fill their planet with water and plants, and will lead them to victory against their enemies. According to this creed, the messiah they are awaiting will be recognizable by a series of signs or prophecies. The ascent of Paul Atreides, the protagonist of the Dune story, is accompanied and facilitated by such prophecies. Among other things, the Lisan al-Gaib, as they call their messiah, will be an off-worlder who will know the Fremen ways without being taught, intuitively, will have clairvoyance, and will unite all tribes under the same banner. Now, why does Frank Herbert place such a great emphasis on prophecies? This is not by chance. In fact, prophecies have a pivotal role in creeds, also in real life. They are the litmus test of their authenticity. They are the ultimate proof of whether an alleged prophet or messiah was divinely inspired or not, or whether a creed is true or a hoax. More loosely, we might argue that they have the same function in philosophy or politics. If a political theory doesn't bring the foretold outcome, we have a good reason to believe that the premise was faulty at best. This pretty straightforward principle is acknowledged by the Bible, sacred for Jews and Christians. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verses 21-22, offers a really striking rule of thumb, which is, if a prophet speaks in God's name and the thing does not happen, it is not from God. The Holy See, and with it the Catholic Church, institutionalized this principle, giving it great emphasis during the canonizing trials of saints. The fact that someone prophesied something that later came to pass is considered one of the strongest proofs that the person in question was indeed inspired by God. And here comes the main point of my reflection. When I was reading Dune, there was something that really struck me. The book is very clear about the fact that the Fremen's creed is artificial, and in fact one of the main points of the book is precisely to warn against the dangers of religious fanaticism. However, despite it being a fake creed, its prophecies are perfectly fulfilled. Of course, this is due to the advanced techniques implemented by the Bene Gesserit. But at the end of the day, is that truly that relevant? The Fremen's creed gave them specific promises, like every creed does. It also gave them prophetic signs that would confirm its own authenticity. Ultimately, the prophecies are fulfilled and the promises of old are granted. So, even if a creed is artificial, but it works nonetheless, does it really matter if it is artificial at all? Or does it become de facto authentic just because it works? The thing is, while I was reading Dune, I didn't really feel like the Fremen were manipulated, but that they had the tools for their redemption in the grasp of their very hands. I know this is exactly the opposite of what the book is trying to convey, a meaning of which I totally agree with, but it is only a thought experiment I'm doing. Now, given this premise, let's try to apply this same logic to a real creed present in our world. I'm talking about Christianity. I chose Christianity in specific because I know it best and because it's the root of European culture, which this channel is about. Others might attempt to do the same operation with other creeds, but this is out of scope for now. Now, among the many criticisms that Christianity faces is that it is an artificial creed, like an artificially engineered tool to keep people under control. Now, my personal opinion on this is that it's pretty ridiculous because if you want to make a religion appealing, you should not forbid adherents from doing literally anything that humans are drawn to. But beside this, it would simply imply a conspiracy theory that would hold up for nearly 2,000 years. So congratulations for anyone able to achieve something like that. And the point is specifically that, artificial or not, it has held up. Otherwise, we would not be talking about it. And one of the reasons why Christianity has held up so far, and it keeps spreading, is its compelling prophecies. The Bible, basis of Christianity, includes a great number of prophecies concerning a mysterious Messiah figure, of which many, according to Christians, have been fulfilled in the historical figure of Jesus of Nazareth. So let's apply the aforementioned prophetic authenticity test to the biblical prophecies about the Messiah, the most famous lisan al-gaib of our world. I chose 3 prophecies about Jesus of Nazareth that I find most compelling, but there are many others. The first prophecy we are going to analyze is concerning the Messiah's birthplace, written in the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 2. Now, this text is dated around 600 BC, more or less. It contains a passage that was interpreted by Israelite tradition, far before the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, as a prophecy concerning the birth of the future Messiah. Now, remember that Jews are still expecting the arrival of a Messiah, of which the Bible often speaks about. And here is the passage in question. But you, Bethlehem Ephratah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from old, from ancient times. Now, consider that Jews or Israelites were very acquainted with this prophecy and aware of its existence, as the Gospels also report. If you know the story, remember the counselors of King Herod mentioned this prophecy specifically and used it as a cheat code on where to look for the baby Messiah in order to kill him. Now, the compelling thing about this prophecy is that it does not mention some great city like Jerusalem as the future birthplace of a future Messiah, because at least from a statistical point of view, it would be most probable that a Messiah will come out of a place where many people live. Instead, it literally gives an extra specific indication about some random small village in the countryside. To put this into scale, it would be as if some weirdo today claimed that a future Messiah would be born in the small English village of Scratchy Bottom, which exists, by the way. And 7 centuries later, it actually happens, whereby a man who would change the course of history like no one else ever did will actually born in that specific village. But let's continue with our next prophecy, which is Psalm 22. Now, most psalms, including this one, are traditionally attributed to King David, who lived more or less 1,000 years before the birth of Christ, 1000 BC. Modern scholars date it to anywhere between 900 to 500 BC. A complete manuscript of the whole book, including the Psalm 22, has been found among the Dead Sea Scrolls dating around 150 BC, which is proof that the text existed in its complete version at least back then. But it had been around for much longer. It describes a situation of extreme anguish, turning to redemption. The POV, according to Israelite and later Christian tradition, is that of the future Messiah. And the interesting thing is that the whole situation matches with oddly specific details the story of the death of Jesus of Nazareth. So the whole psalm starts off with pretty much the specific phrase that Jesus, according to the Gospels, said on the cross. Oh my God, why have you forsaken me? Then it also proceeds to describe a situation like this. All who see me mock me. They hurl insults, shaking their heads. He trusts in the Lord, they say. Let the Lord rescue him. Which is, again, for whoever is familiar with the story of the Gospel or the Passion of Christ, is the scene described at the crucifixion, whereby people around him mocked Jesus. But here comes the part that really boggles my mind. So there is a line of text in this psalm that really says, literally, "They pierced my hand and feet." Now, whoever is familiar with the story of Jesus or Roman history knows that Romans were well acquainted with the crucifixion as a method for killing criminals. But the thing is that when this text was written, Rome wasn't really a thing. In fact, it literally didn't even exist, like not even a village, probably. Let alone crucifixion, which of course was invented by Romans. So the thing is, whoever wrote this, why did they write something so specific and random that for people who were reading this wouldn't really make any sense? Then the psalm goes on to describe a scene like this. "They divide my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment." Which again, for whoever is familiar with the story of the crucifixion of Jesus of Nazareth, is something that is reported to happen right there and then, where Roman soldiers attending the crucifixion were dividing the clothes of Jesus among themselves. So, all in all, here we have a text written not sooner than 500 years before the story recounted by the Gospels, which contain oddly specific details about what would happen later on. And finally, let's analyze our third prophecy. I'm talking, of course, about Isaiah chapter 53, known as the Suffering Servant. Now, this whole chapter talks about the future Messiah. This is an interpretation held by Israelites before the birth of Jesus, and also about the Christian tradition afterwards. This whole passage describes the core ideas of future Christianity, and also details about the death of Jesus of Nazareth. It is so accurate that sounds like an excerpt from the New Testament, but it actually was written at least 550 years before Christ, or up to 700 depending on interpretations. Once again, this whole text is found in the Dead Sea Scrolls dating 150 BC. Now let's go step by step and analyze what's going on here. Quote, "He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him." Note the parallelisms with the Passion of Christ. "He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering." Note here the later Christian idea that Jesus died for mankind's sins, which was pretty much unknown for Israelites before the whole philosophy of Christianity was developed. "Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions." Notice the story recounts that Jesus was pierced by a spear. "He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed." Again, note the Christian idea of atonement through sacrifice. "We all like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has turned to go our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of all." Again, same theme. "He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth." Notice the Gospels report that Jesus of Nazareth refused to talk to authorities even when given the chance to defend himself, which is a pretty unusual behavior for someone who is about to be killed in a very gruesome way. "By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested? For he was cut off from the lands of the living." Now here the text is literally prophesying the future Messiah's death, which is a very controversial topic because of its implications. Remember, many Jews rejected Jesus as a Messiah specifically because they expected the Messiah to be a military leader, someone like the Lisan al-Gaib of Dune, who would defeat Romans and reclaim their land. Not someone who is literally just killed off by authorities without even doing anything about it. "For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked." Remember the story of the Gospels, Jesus was crucified between two evildoers. "And with the rich is his death." Here, very interesting, Jesus was reported to be buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, reported to be a wealthy man. "Though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him suffer. Notice here the later Christian idea that the sacrifice of Messiah was not a mistake, but it was the whole point, the whole master plan. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, he will see his offspring and prolong his days. Here it foreshadows the Christian idea of resurrection. And the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. Again, resurrection or redemption after death. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death, and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Alright, so this whole passage is pretty crazy. When I read this, I low-key feel like a Fremen seeing Bene Gesserit prophecies materializing Paul Atreides before my own eyes. So, what to make of all of this? Is this a carefully crafted conspiracy? A crazy coincidence? Or an actual divine inspiration? You're free to decide. My point is only this. We should acknowledge that ancient creeds, in this case Hebrewism and Christianity, have something really impressive going on. Their sacred texts have the ability of apparently foretelling the future, or at least to leave us amazed at how peculiarly they are constructed. After all, it is a quality proper of true literary masterpieces of being able to grasp aspects of truth with prophetic accuracy. Think the Greek myths that grasped aspects of human psyche that would later on become pivotal principles of modern psychoanalysis, like the myth of Oedipus and Narcissus. By the way, I made a very beautiful video on Dorian Gray, which involves also Narcissus. Check that out. It is fascinating to think that sacred texts have been codified following mysterious patterns that allow for their prophecies to come true, perhaps thanks to sophisticated self-fulfilling mechanisms or other artifices, like it happens in Dune. If this is the case, can anyone really blame the faithful for believing? After all, what matters is not even that the prophecy is handcrafted, but that it managed to work after all. So I think it's legit to admire such complexity in sacred texts, even for the sake of literary mystery. That's pretty much all I wanted to say for today. Thank you, my friend, for having stayed till the end. I really appreciate it. This is a new channel, so if you like what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe, like, and leave a comment if you feel like it. And till next time, my friends.